Before we get started, we got to talk to you about something. Well, it's not a secret. It's what's near and dear to our hearts. It is that love of the moving image. It is the love of film. It is the love of cinema and watching as much of it as we possibly can from all the corners of the world. Because I mean, really, that's kind of what we're here for as film fans and film lovers and film goers and film experiencers, as it were, which means that well, I got to recommend something to you because there is a streaming service that I personally love. I think it's one of the better ones out there, especially if you're looking for some cinema that maybe is a little off the beaten track, but it's got a that maybe some you want some world cinema, you want some documentaries, you want sort of a wide variety of stuff that you wouldn't necessarily get anywhere else. And you know what? It's all in one place. It's all at filmmovementplus.com, which, at least from my perspective, is probably one of the better streaming services out there for film lovers. And this month in July, they've got a lot of really interesting stuff. They have new stuff coming every week, and again, it's one of those services that I can't recommend enough because they had one that just launched called Volcano, which is a really sort of interesting sort of family story that goes back and forth. It's set in the Ukraine, and it was a festival favorite all across the world. And it's a film that you're not gonna see in most places, but when you sit down and you experience it, it's a special thing. And there's films like well, there's actually some Olympic films coming up on the service in the next couple of weeks, sort of in time with the Summer Olympics starting up. And it's a film called Over the Limit. It's a documentary just about how the Russian system for training athletes will kind of push boundaries and sort of, I don't know, stretch the rules and really take things to some really sort of extremes. It's one of those modern sports docs that really is akin to something like a 30 for 30 or something you would see on ESPN, and it's really a fantastic sort of look inside uh, the Olympic system and sort of its beauty, but also its corruption at the same time. It's a great look, and it's starting on Film Movement Plus later this month. But there's that. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a 4K restoration of one of the best Mexican films of all time called Espaldas Mojados, aka Wetbacks. Again, if you want to check out some Mexican cinema, and I mean, again, even as a fan, I did not know how rich the Mexican cinema scene really is. And I mean, there is so much out there just to really experience and watch, and there's some great stuff. There's also the premiere of a really fun film that played at Cannes a little while back called Caro Diaria, which Film Movement has on DVD and Blu-ray as well if you want to pick that up. But again, it's a self-reflective comedy that's a lot of fun, and there's just, again, there is such a wide-ranging variety of interesting foreign stuff, documentary, sports documentaries. There's a boxing documentary as well in correlation with the Summer Olympics called Hands of God, which is coming to the service soon as well. Which again, I've seen, and it's fantastic. But it's one of those things where if you love film, I really think you should check out FilmMovementPlus.com. And because you're a listener of the show and you love film just as much as we do, we've got something special for you, because when you go to filmmovementplus.com and sign up for a scant $5.99, which is basically the price of a coffee, well, a fully loaded coffee anyway over at Starbucks, but not only do you get free 30 days to try it out, but if you sign up with the promo code SEATS, you get 50% off for the first 3 months after that, which really it's a steal. If you love cinema and you want to check out some really interesting foreign cinema from all across the world, not only here, but from basically any country you can think of, sign up, go to filmmovementplus.com for a scant $5.99, and please enjoy it. Now playing in a world where we're not sure if we want to go back to the theaters. Well, I always usually say that if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more, but technically today that's a lie because I'm actually not here. I'm on vacation, but that doesn't mean I'm leaving the digital space empty. I wouldn't do that to you. But what we're doing for these select episodes, I'm calling it just sort of a Critics Corner kind of interlude. We're talking with contributors, we're talking with colleagues, contemporaries, and we're finding those things that, kind of fall through the cracks, be it theatrically, streaming, television, what have you. Because, I mean, in this day and age, there is so much quote unquote content, which, and that's something we'll refer to later in what we're talking about today. But we are having on this episode a very special guest, a dear friend, our editor over here at intheseats.ca, Paolo Kagaoan. How you doing, brother?
I'm still sober. Yeah, by the way, you have a really great radio voice, by the way. I have no idea how nasal I'm gonna sound like, but whatever, let's do this. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing? How you staying sane during all this as we sort of ramp up into life again to being able to go to the theaters like a normal person?
Yeah, and I was never sane. I was not sane before COVID happened. I wasn't sane during it. I'm not sane then. Although I think, yeah, like my sex life has been, yeah, like it's gonna start ramping up again. It has to.
Just to warn
I'm
our
sorry. Yeah,
listeners out there, Paolo is occasionally a little unedited, but that's kind of why we love him, and that's
yeah.
kind of why we had him on. And on this episode, we're actually going to Netflix. When I first saw what
Yes.
he suggested, like I was just like, "Oh God, it's a stand-up special." All right, fine, I'll let him talk about a stand-up. But this is so much more than a stand-up special. Oh my God, this might actually be the best film, and I'm calling this a film now. Our contemporaries will not call this a film, but fuck them, I'm calling it a film. This is Bo Burnham in Inside.
Yeah, like people aren't calling it. I guess it's. I don't even. Yeah, like what is the film? At this point, like,
Tell
because yeah, I
tell
guess
it
it's like if it's.
tell us what it's about though. Like just tell us a little bit about sort of the premise behind Bo Burnham's Inside because it's really unique.
uh I guess it's Bo Burnham sings songs while he's on lockdown. That's like the simplest way to summarize it. Would you say again? Are we selling this like by with that like Bo Burnham sing songs during lockdown like 6 words like I have no idea. Like, if I was the person in charge of selling this, and if like that's how I did it, like they're probably just gonna no, like full pass. But it's yeah, again, it's more than that.
But I mean, imagine a borderline self-indulgent. Well, not I'm not going to say borderline. He is self-indulgent, but it works. Artist sort of in lockdown creating new content and new material
Yeah.
and slowly but surely kind of having a breakdown about
Mm.
being in lockdown and making new content and new material and putting it all together in a very sort of eclectic and almost frenetic way because I mean
Mm.
it's as much as it you could think it plays in segments just about the songs,
Mm.
there is such a through thread through it. It's really sort of
Yeah.
this interesting experiment to see him sort of bearing himself through this creative process to
Mm.
like I'm sure there's a certain degree of it's for show, but
Mm.
he's really leaning into the idea of being this sort of tortured artist locked
Yeah.
alone during lockdown during and trying to create new material.
Because yeah, I guess it's like if he's sort of like leaning into. I feel like if you're faking it, like it will show. But the thing is, like like while watching this, like yeah, like this is real. Like I mean, I guess yeah. If it's all fake, like maybe like what like 5 years later, but when it's like yeah, like I faked all of that, but just like like this, if that was all fake, like that's a good fake. Like it felt really real because I mean, actors never I guess it's that probably that old adage where like actors put themselves into whatever role they're playing, but like
Right.
if it's true, it's true because like people say things, yeah, people say cliches because sometimes they're fucking true. So am I allowed to swear? Like I
Yes,
love how like
go
yeah,
ahead.
I've revealed like my sex life, and then basically like I've been swearing, and then 4 minutes like I'm asking for permission.
No, but I mean, I don't think he's faking, but I definitely think he's turning it up to 11 just for the
Mm,
sake of
yeah.
sort of the piece and what he's trying to do. And it's
Mm,
really interesting because, I mean, obviously there is sort of the companion album to go with this,
mm,
but you go through the list of songs, and I mean, I'm just pulling it up now on my phone. But I mean, he sings a song called Content about him creating new content
yeah.
and FaceTiming with his mom and
Yes.
a white woman's Instagram and the
Oh
unpaid
my
intern
god.
and a whole diatribe on sexting and with him running around in his underwear.
Mm. Oh no, yeah, I guess it's I before I was watching this, like I've been watching like 3.5 seasons of Nathan Fielder's Nathan for You. And
Right.
basically, yeah, like I guess like I don't know, maybe it's like three's a trend or whatever, but just like you wouldn't expect like skinny white dudes from like up north to have like nice asses, but just like like good for like I don't know if it's like a squatting or I don't know if it's like a history of like playing like a sport that he played when he was a child that he still kind of plays, but just like good for him and just also like being like staying fit during this pandemic is a privilege. Like I think I stayed fit until like Christmas, and then January, that's like when I fell down by the wayside and just like I'm wearing large shirts now. So yeah,
Oh,
like I can't use that. Yeah, I can't use that as a brand anymore. Like as yeah, I can't use that like me being hot as like my brand anymore. Like I'm just like everybody else because of this pandemic. But yeah, like okay, I guess yeah, like in a way, I guess let's go back to like this thing that we're supposed to be talking about. I guess this is a very privileged take on what it's like to experience the lockdown because like a lot of us we're actually like going to
oh, for
work.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like I mean, this is a guy who basically he stopped. He's a stand-up comedian. He stopped doing stand-up comedy. He directed a movie and starred in Promising Young Woman. And yeah, basically like he didn't do the thing that he was known to do. And then basically,
After eighth grade, after Promising Young Woman,
yeah,
it was just this.
yeah. Because I guess it's like there's the. I mean, most people don't like going outside anyway, but the fact that like you don't have that choice anymore, or there's this perception that you don't have that choice anymore. But like, I'm pretty sure like he goes to the grocery store once in a while. Like he was never really
I
have
don't
fun.
doubt that, but I mean, even with sort of the white woman's Instagram, like he's
Yeah,
basically making fun
yeah,
of white privilege
mm,
while being inside
yeah,
making this content about white
mm,
privilege. Like
yeah,
like there is so much satire in this material.
mm,
It's dripping. It is dripping with it. And I mean,
yeah,
I don't know about you. I didn't know he was actually a half decent singer and songwriter because I mean these songs are kind of funny and they're
yeah. Because
good.
I'm, cause yeah, like I've watched two of his comic specials. Or yeah, again, I think I looked him up or whatever. Like his vocal range, I think he has like two octaves, and it's low and it's like nasal. And I think like there's yeah, and speaking of like people with like who have made careers out of like limited um uh vocal ranges, like there's like a song like I think like the Get Your Hands Up song, like kind of
Okay.
just like when that played, like I can imagine Drake fuming, like when he was like, "Why are you making?" Yeah, and again, it's like basically like it's like he's making fun of white culture. He's making fun of like I guess white people appropriating black culture. There's a lot of like layers, and also because like comedians feel like they have a target on their back, and like he's going on the wayside. So you know what, like, but yeah, I'm pretty sure in 5 years somebody will find something problematic about this. I think we're doing that right now. We're finding something problematic about this, but at least like he's responding it in a positive way or like an organic way.
Because he's mocking everybody, and I mean,
Hmm.
including himself
Yeah.
during this whole process.
Hmm. Like he's not even that rich. Like he's his net worth is like 4 million. That's basically like if he stopped working right now and like moved to Toronto, like he'll be fine. Yeah, I have no idea like what the mortgage rates in LA is, but just like yeah, he'd make a very well-to-do Canadian or like a sufficiently middle-class Canadian with that money. Like I guess he's privileged, but he's not that privileged. I don't know.
But I mean, I'm kind of curious, like, how do you think? Because I mean, to see this on a major streaming, and I mean, to have someone like Netflix give him any money to do this, because I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, this didn't cost him a damn thing to make.
Yeah,
He had the gear already.
yeah.
I'm kind of curious how this will even change some of these comedy specials going forward. Because I mean, we saw the thing that Chappelle did with only a few people or with no people, and
Mhm.
I mean,
Or
there's
I guess like
obviously going to be room for like this is almost performance art as much as it's comedy,
yeah.
music, what have you. This is very much a piece of performance
Mhm.
art.
Yeah, like I guess like I don't know, like because before this, like the other comedy special that I saw is like the Nate Bargatze comedy special that I reviewed, like I requested specifically from that. And then basically it's like it's open area and there's like cocktail tables and like it's like a fewer attendance. So I don't know if Bo Burnham wants to do that again, or basically it's gonna be him just directing movies from his home. I mean, like, I guess it's been like the history of filmmaking. Like, you make a backlot into like Arabia or something like that. It's just basically like transform like a white wall and turn it into something. Like that's always been the history of film or like of studio film, and he's just basically doing that in a microwave, but also in a gene. And like I don't want to throw around the word genius way, but like it is a genius way. Sure, yes,
Because I mean, the reality is, I wouldn't have felt out of place watching that in a theater.
yeah,
It's one
yeah.
of
Because I
those
mean,
things that, like, and I mean, I don't mean like a stand-up theater, like, you know, at the Tiff Bell Lightbox, seeing it as like a
mm,
piece of cinematic art, which,
yeah.
to be honest, I think this is kind of what he's done.
Mm. 'Cause yeah, like now that you say like Tiff Bell Lightbox or whatever, like I wonder like who would Tiff Bell Lightbox would program this and like in juxtaposition to what? Like say like I mean it's or maybe like it could be within like concert films or something like that. I mean, yeah, this is technically a concert film or
No,
like
yeah, I think that's probably the
like
best
a
way to
musical.
define it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of breaking every single convention that you would expect from the
Mm,
stand-up special and throwing it out of the window in a very sort of self-referential and really funny way because like
mm,
you know he's taking the piss, but he's taking the piss at like at 11.
mm.
He's
Yeah.
doing it so hard.
Although I guess it's like there's been a lot of like meta comedy specials lately. I guess like 3 years ago there was Nanette where basically like a lesbian yeah like it's like yeah like what's the point of comedy because like especially comedy is just like hurting yourself or like exposing your pain and reliving that pain for everybody well like oh my god like I'm a comedian and then basically just like what's I mean most comedians like punch out or punch down or punch up but like it's like basically it's like self-inflicted injury and it's like Hannah Gadsby's like what's the point of this and I think like maybe he's like asking the same questions but he's figured out different like I don't even know if he's
Can we
found an
even call
answer.
this meta? Because this almost feels like he's taking meta and shoving it up its own ass.
It's like an Ouroboros of like yeah, it's an Ouroboros of meta. Yeah, it's yeah, that's a good yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good way of thinking about it.
No, but I mean, like again, just like what made you pick it? Like, what made you just turn it on? Was it just because you
Um
like Bo Burnham, or
yeah, I mean like I followed him for a while and what else like I basically just like best of letter like I guess I go on Letterboxd or whatever and just like best of and sometimes like that doesn't work out because like even some of like people who some of the stuff that like people like on Letterboxd like I eventually don't like
yeah?
yeah like this one's like you know what like I'm gonna listen to what everybody says and just like watch this thing and then yeah like I mean I know that he's a talent but at the same time like he's topped himself like I mean it's you know yeah like yeah it's one of those like critic cliches like yeah like he's outdone himself but like you know if if it merits it, it merits it.
But I mean, this also kind of speaks to your sensibilities too, because I mean, we look at I mean, I remember in recent years, some of your favorite films have been like Homecoming with Beyonce and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah.
this definitely falls into that kind of
Mm,
category, which is pushing sort of the standard convention that people expect.
yeah, and I guess it's yeah, like or Black is King, or I
Exactly,
think,
yeah.
or even like there's a Brazilian MC called Emicida, and he had a concert film. I think it's my favorite film of last year. Which is like it's yeah, just yeah, I should like call Cameron Bailey like, hi, I have a great idea for you. And besides, like, yeah, you guys are like sort of like you guys have a partnership with Netflix. Let's get this done. So like, yeah, like concert films, or maybe it's like a hot dogs thing.
You know what I kind of love though? I mean, Netflix does have a partnership with Criterion too for releasing stuff on disc.
Oh
Like,
wow.
I pray to God somebody has the balls
Somebody
to release this as a Criterion.
right here. Oh, no, I can only like imagine like the potential for the cover art, basically like or like a limited edition. Just there's gonna be like one.
Yeah, him like
Um,
him just like sort of in his underwear in some sort of pose.
yeah. Also, like the White Woman's Instagram account. I mean, because obviously, like my Instagram feed is different from his feed. It's basically like it's just like either shots of movie reviews or um like hot guys from who I follow, like who have grinder accounts. And yeah, it's kind of this yeah, it's kind of the same milieu but different. But like I guess it's yeah. I mean, like again, like going back to Bo Burnham's inside, like his experience of the lockdown and his experience of social media is not the same as mine. But at the same time, like he still reminds me of why I hate Instagram so much because it's like hot people pretending to be sad. I mean, like I'm sure hot people are sad. I think he kind of comments on it. Like there's like an interlude between the second chorus and like the third chorus or whatever was just basically he's like putting himself in like the perspective of like that like perspective of that girl. We're just like, like she's just like a girl who like misses her mom.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
totally.
like I
Yeah.
have a boyfriend now and like I made something great out of myself. Even though just like that's something that I mean, like maybe she's had a post like that on Instagram. But yeah, like the rest of the posts are just like her really shitty food or like politically like derivative political folk art or or just like her like just basically like thirst like artistic thirst traps like he's what he's doing.
He's saying the shit that nobody says on social media while making fun of social media.
Yeah. Oh no, which is so weird because like basically like you think everything's been said on social media. Like it's everybody. And yeah, like you'd think that like we've run out of things to say now, but he proves that he like we haven't.
No, and I mean this film really is sort of a weird kind of conflux of all of it. I mean, even I can even think of that film Zola that just came out a couple of weeks ago that was
Oh my
basically pulled
god.
from the stripper's Twitter feed.
Yes.
I could see more content and interesting comment coming out of social media feeds just, but it's got to be the right ones and it's got to be adapted the right way. It makes for sort of an interesting time the way people like Burnham and so many other people are pulling uh ideas from basically anywhere.
Yeah. And I guess oh yeah, like one day I will watch Zola, but at the same time it's like, like I mean people have always like done this. We're just like Shakespeare just like comment like we're comparing Bo Burnham and Zola to Shakespeare. But yeah, like just like he ripped off the headlines. He basically he made propaganda for whoever king was in charge, and or at the same time making fun of like the kings in charge without pissing them off too much. And I feel like that's the way like yeah people like Bo Burnham do. And like which reminds me of like I can't remember what song it was, like the one with the sock puppet.
Oh, Sacco. Yeah, Sacco. Yeah.
The Sako song, which is basically because like this kind of also like reminds me of like being on both sides of like any political fight that I do. Because yeah, like I get bored. Sometimes like I should be working harder so that I can get all my shit done and write more shit for you. But at the same time, like sometimes like instead of doing that, I just like go fight people on the internet. And like so yeah, like some of that we're just like the political debate now we're just like you're so angry that all you have to say is like fuck you, even to people who only slightly disagree with you as opposed to totally disagree with you. And I guess like on the other hand, like you might be one of those people like telling people to calm down who are like people who are like legitimately angry about stuff when it's like a weird it's like a weird balance. And also kind of his take on it super macabre also.
I mean, it really comes down to the idea that at least sort of the ideas he's putting out there is that it's the discourse of nonsense who's basically in charge right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of back in the day, people didn't know how to read or write.
Right.
So just like we thought everybody was smart. Or I guess maybe it's like some people were like you can probably find like Roman graffiti or something where just like somebody molested me, or something. But like I guess like now, like everybody, like people,
now thanks to Twitter, everyone thinks they're a poet laureate.
Yeah, and like some of us are, like Zola, or like I guess yeah, Bo Burnham started as a YouTuber, and now he's like, a critically acclaimed comedian slash
filmmaker slash actor slash whatever the hell he wants to be at this
whatever he wants to be, because there's no right path anymore to stardom or genius or whatever it is.
Well, and you know what? I mean, I think that's a good note to put a bow on this, because when you look at this special, I mean, again, I'm going to call it a film at the end of the year. It's going to be on my list because I think this is a film. It's pushing boundaries. It's pushing sort of convention. It's really making something that is distinct, that if anyone tries to do anything even remotely close to what he just did, it'll obviously be derivative. Like, this is the most original thing that I've seen in quite some time. And really, it's him sitting alone singing songs, but just the way he cut it and the way he assembled it, it's so gripping. I mean, I fucking loved it.
Yeah, and I just also hope that he's okay.
Oh, I'm sure he is. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure Netflix has cut him another check to make even more stuff like this. But you never.
Yeah, although I can only imagine like what the expenses are. Basically, like he bought a bunch of stuff like from Amazon, like who he makes fun of, obviously. But yeah, like some lights, some strobe lights, some like filters, a few costumes, and yeah, and he made a really great film out of that. Where just like people spend like $200 million on a movie, and just like those being shipped were just like is yeah, smaller budget, still great.
Well, I love the fact that he did a Netflix special and is making fun of Jeff Bezos and Amazon. If he does an Amazon special, does that mean he's going to make fun of Ted Sanderos?
Maybe like or because his past few specials have been mostly on Netflix. So yeah, I guess like it's such a weird brand loyalty too. Where just like he's I guess of course he can make fun of Jeff Bezos because they don't have to work for him. Although I don't know where Promising Young Woman is going to be, or I don't know where Eighth Grade is streaming. So there's that.
Well, those are deals well below all of our
Mm,
pay grades, but
exactly.
you know what, man? Thanks for shining a light on something that honestly I probably wouldn't have turned on if you hadn't suggested it. But
Yeah.
man, if you want something weird and glorious, go watch fucking Bo Burnham's Inside on Netflix
Yeah.
because god
Um,
damn,
yeah. Yes.
not gonna see
Also,
anything.
like, oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Go. You were saying something?
Well, just saying, like I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna see anything like that this year.
Mm. Yeah, and also like thank you for like making me feel like I'm actually like, looking for, because I don't even know if I'm like because yeah, like there's some people in this community where just like they know where to find weird stuff and to like shine a light on it for people, and I don't know if I'm any I've never seen myself as one of those people. Thank you for seeing me that. But yeah, like I find weird stuff. I mean, yeah, I guess it's like that's the point, right? I guess it's like we are gonna we I think most of like the things I review are things that like only a few people are gonna see, but at the same time, it's just like let's do it. Like let's spot like people who are not, like who are not gonna get as much of the share of the discourse as they
Yeah,
should
and I mean,
get.
there's nothing wrong with us talking about Black Widow or,
Mm,
Fast and Furious 9 or anything else like that. But I mean, at least from my perspective, and I know you feel the same way, just
yeah.
I mean, you're here. Like, let's watch the weird shit. Let's watch the
Yes.
different stuff. Let's try to push that forward because guess what? There's a
Mm,
readership for it. There's a niche for it, and people,
mm,
people need to be able to see something else. And this
yeah.
definitely qualifies as something
So
else.
something else.
Well, Paolo, man, thanks again for doing this, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.